All right, what is the y-intercept of the line tangent to the curve? That should say y equals 2x squared plus 10 at the point where x equals negative 1.25. So we're looking for the y-intercept, right, of the line that's tangent to the curve. So let's think about that. If we had a line, a tangent line, we could write it in the form y equals mx plus b. And that means that b would be our y-intercept. So we just need to find that line, and then we'll have the b. So to find this line, let's think about what we need to first write any line. We need a point and a slope, and so we can use point slope form, which looks like this. And this is my x1, so I got to find my y1. So to find my y1, all I do is I take my x1 and I plug it into this equation. So y1 would equal 2 times, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write this as a fraction because I think it's going to be a little bit easier to deal with. So 1.25, that's the same thing as negative 5/4. So negative 5/4 squared plus 10. Okay, so negative 5 squared, that's going to be positive 25. 4 squared, that's going to be 16 plus 10. You could cancel that out, make that an 8. So I have 25/8 plus 10. Well, that's kind of like 10 over 1. So that's kind of like 25/8 plus 80/8. So what is that? It's 105/8. Which we could get a decimal for too, but this will be fine for now. All right, so I go back over here. I got y minus, I'll change it to a decimal later, but it's 105/8 equals, we don't know what the slope is yet. We'll get there in a second. And this is x minus negative 5/4. So it's going to be plus 5/4. Okay, so let's figure out what m is. Well, it's going to be the derivative at that point. So let's first find the derivative equation. It would simply be 4x. Use the power rule, right? That just becomes 4x. So what's the derivative at negative 1.25 or negative 5/4? Well, it's just negative 5. So that means we can just take that negative 5 and plug it in for our slope. And so now we have the tangent line equation, and all we need to know is the y-intercept. So I'm going to kind of shrink this down a little bit, so give me some space. Okay, so let's think about what this is. This is y minus 105/8 equals negative 5 times x plus 5/4. Okay, if I distribute that negative, it would be negative 5x, and then this would be like minus 25/4. And I got y minus 105/8. Okay, we don't want that 105/8 there. We want to get it back to this form, right? So I need to add 105/8 to both sides. That cancels that out. And so I get y equals negative 5x. And now I got to combine these two. To do that, I'm going to need common denominators. So let's just multiply the top and bottom by 2. So I get a common denominator of 8. So 8 is going to be on the bottom. Essentially what I have here is I have a negative 50 and a positive 105. So negative 50 and positive 105, that's what, 55? So that's going to be 55/8. But it's just 105 minus 50 really, right? So that's 55/8. Okay, now if I wanted to convert all this back to a decimal, just do 55 divided by 8. So that's the same thing as negative 5x plus, let's see, 8 goes into 56 7 times. So it would be 6 and 7/8. And then I don't know what that is as a decimal. Let's see, I think it's 0.125. So you could also write it as negative 5x plus 6.125. It would be 875. So your y-intercept, you could literally write it as 6.875, 6/7/8, or 55/8. Because remember, all I did is I looked at this, and the b is my y-intercept. So once I get everything on one side, that's my y-intercept. I just converted it to a mixed fraction. This is improper fraction, and this is a decimal. So I don't know what version you need the answer in, but that should be the answer. Okay, bye.